You know that moment when you catch your boyfriend cheating and then scream at him in the middle of the street? Yeah, that was just the beginning. I thought I was just the tired overworked assistant to a cold CEO. Turns out I was burning myself out for the wrong guy in every possible way. Then one drunken night I quit, pushed him away, and everything flipped. Now I can't stop thinking about it. Was the book wrong the whole time? I need someone to talk about this with. This one actually broke me in the best way.
The heavy curtains were pulled open, and sunlight streamed into the room. The man in the bed pulled the quilt up discontentedly to block the blinding white light. Without my urging, a drowsy voice came from under the quilt.
5 minutes? Just 5 more minutes.
I sneered inwardly and remained equally cold-faced. I reached for my phone and opened Michael's personal playlist. The man who had been lying in bed finally reacted. Sounding annoyed,
Turn it off. I said 5 minutes. And it's 5 minutes. Why can't you give me a little more trust?
I kept pulling at Michael's blanket without reacting. I gave it a tug. I tugged again, but it didn't budge. Michael, mister, John will be attending today's meeting. Are you sure you want to keep sleeping in? Michael's voice was clearly more alert now, yet still carried a persistent hint of hope.
Then get me an excuse. Just say I'm sick.
I'm really sick. So sick that I can't even get out of bed. This kind of lame excuse would probably only fool kindergarten kids. I said nothing and stood in front of the window with my arms crossed. I silently refused. Michael suddenly stood up, his fingers raking through his messy hair in a frustrated gesture. After achieving my goal, I turned around and went into the kitchen. Michael, my boss, is the main male character in this romance novel. After dying from staying up late and overworking, I transmigrated into this book and became the cold-faced male assistant of the president male lead. But this male lead is not only frigid, but also extremely fond of staying in bed. He's good for nothing except being handsome. Every day, I either handle work for the boss or take care of his daily life. I'm so done. It's even more tiring than before I transmigrated into the book. A life of being on call 24 hours a day is more tiring than being a nanny. Every time I want to quit my job, I'll take a look at the balance in my bank card. After transmigrating into the book, I'm back to square one. I have to start working again. This is a sweet romance novel with no dark or upsetting moments throughout. According to the original plot of the book, 1 month later, Michael will meet the main character. After the two of them take a fancy to each other, they'll get intimate passionately. After having a long-term physical relationship, they'll develop feelings for each other. As a background character, my only function is to send condoms to the boss in the middle of the night. As I recalled the plot in the book, my movements slowed down.
Coffee is about to spill.
Michael spoke up suddenly, snapping my attention back. Michael sat down at the table, still drying his hair, his robe casually open. After just one glance, I quickly averted my eyes. Before entering the book or after, I've always been gay. Staring any longer might get me accused of harassment by Michael. I looked at my watch. There was still plenty of time. I said to Michael, "I'll wait for you in the living room." Michael waved casually like an old man and sat down at the table to eat breakfast. Half an hour has passed, just as I expected. As long as I don't push him, Michael can keep delaying forever. I was just about to get up and clear the dishes when my former roommate's boyfriend called. My former roommate treated him with extreme humility. almost like a son. The day I arrived, my former roommate was already gone. After going through my former roommate's memories, I had to admit with disbelief that she died from frustration. It was all because of a photo showing her boyfriend kissing another girl.
Baby, what are you doing?
Came a lazy voice from the other end of the phone. I could almost picture the person on the line lying on the bed. He glanced toward the dining area without making an effort to hide.
What do you need? Are you still mad at me?
Alake murmured. Then he added,
I had a last-minute job come up. Where did you put my suit that I need to wear?
Hearing that, a wave of irritation welled up inside me. Olake, I'm not your mom. We've already broken up. 3 days from now is the final deadline for you to move out.
Don't bother me again.
The original owner, at least, was free of it. Right after I arrived, I inherited his empty bank card, used up by Olake and his ex-boyfriend. His so-called boyfriend.
Girlfriend.
Michael's voice came from behind me. I looked up, and there he was suddenly standing in the living room. I raised an eyebrow in surprise. Michael had only delayed by 10 minutes this time. My heart nearly burst with emotion if he could keep this up. I wouldn't have to rush every day just to avoid being late because of him. It was affecting my perfect attendance record. At that moment, I wanted nothing more than to rush over and stick a big red sticker on his face. Noticing my odd expression, Michael took a step back. After a pause, he looked at me with confusion.
So that's your boyfriend?
I let out a sigh but didn't deny it. After all, openly stating my romantic orientation to the future top male lad always feels a bit forced. I exhaled and said, Do all bosses care about their employees' personal lives like you do? Michael's expression changed, and he leaned in closer.
Really your boyfriend?
I instinctively raised my hand to keep a safe social distance. Facing Michael's persistent questions, I admitted, Yes, he is. I couldn't help but think, wasn't the main character supposed to be emotionally reserved? The only thing that ever seemed to catch his interest was the future gentle and sweet wife. When did he become so curious about relationships? Throughout the ride, Michael kept a look like he wanted to say something but held back. I finally couldn't hold it in anymore. I turned sharply toward him, though I still had to keep the polite demeanor of an ordinary employee. Is there something you need? Mr. Chin. Michael leaned back into the seat and said,
Nothing.
A lump formed in my chest. I couldn't breathe properly. I turned away with a glare and said, Fine. All the frustration from being trapped in this story was building up inside me right then. Can't you just say what's on your mind? Seeing my frustration, Michael shrunk slightly and pretended not to care as he looked out the window.
I just wanted to remind you to judge people carefully, otherwise, it'll be Chin Group's reputation that suffers in the end.
I forced a polite smile and said, Of course, Mr. Chin. I understand now. Even so, I still went out of my way to open the car door for Michael after getting down. And I even gently placed my hand against the frame, saying, Mr. Chin, be careful with your head. The moment I realized what I'd done, I wanted to shake myself awake for being so overly eager. Leo, how much longer are you going to let yourself be this weak? I can't live like this for even one more day. The next moment,
Where's Leo?
Mr. John, I'm here. Before my mind had time to catch up, my legs and mouth were already acting out the routine.
There's a dinner meeting tonight. I won't be able to attend. You and Michael will go in my place.
Yes, Mr. John. After speaking, Mr. John turned to his son, who was still half asleep beside him.
When will you finally get enough sleep? I heard that you've been late with your check in every single time this month. My expectations of you are already so low.
I stood quietly by, listening to Mr. John's words. I didn't dare breathe a word. Noticing Michael's pleading look, I took a deep breath. Mr. John, Michael has handled his tasks quite well. Before I could say more, Mr. John waved me off.
Enough. Don't try to cover for him with excuses. Don't think I've lost my mind. How many of those tasks did he actually do himself?
Lunchtime came, and Michael returned to the office with a weary expression. Following right behind him was me, wearing the same exhausted look. Earlier in the meeting room, I'd been caught between them, his father and son, and felt completely stuck. Another day where I just wanted to quit. Later that evening, at the business dinner, we'd already had a few rounds of drinks.
Leo, how about considering a move to my company?
The high school classmate, clearly under the influence, slurred while putting an arm around my shoulder.
I promise I won't treat you the way your current boss does. He's not fair at all.
At that moment, the so-called unfair boss Yaoi was talking about sat right beside me, staring intently at us. Before I could even refuse politely, Yaoi burped and seemed ready to keep going. But Michael had already reached out and pulled him off me, shoving him aside.
Hey, who shoved me? Unbelievable manners.
I felt a sudden chill run through me. Sure enough, Michael leaned in close to my ear and said with a chilling tone,
Am I taking advantage of you?
I looked up at the sky and around nervously anywhere, but directly at Michael's face. No, of course not. I was thinking, that's just common sense. If I weren't in need of money, I wouldn't have rushed into this kind of situation.
Then I'll give you a raise.
Hearing about the raise, my dizziness and sore legs disappeared instantly. I looked at him with surprise. Really? Michael let out a light chuckle.
You must really need the money. Huh? Little broke one.
As long as I get a raise. A few teasing remarks don't bother me at all.
You've been with Chin Group for 5 years now, based on your salary. You shouldn't be short on funds.
That thought hit me hard. I wouldn't have been in such a tight spot if it weren't for the former assistant's blind devotion. Handing over his salary card to Ulake, I'd have had some savings by now. I laughed off the moment. Who wouldn't want more money? Right, boss? Michael seemed convinced by that answer and nodded in agreement. After the event ended, I finally managed to send off this cheerful guest.
Want to grab a late-night snack?
Michael asked. Sure, I said, pressing out the cigarette in my hand. Both of us had been drinking, but the destination was close by, so walking there wasn't a problem. I walked side by side with Michael, and not far ahead sat a high-performance sports car. A girl with pink hair and a tall, handsome man got out of the vehicle. They were close together in a familiar way, and though we couldn't hear what the man said, the girl laughed softly into his chest. I frowned slightly, instinctively thinking I must have misread the scene. But as we got closer, I realized the man the girl was holding onto wasn't anyone else. It was Ulake, my former roommate's boyfriend. I instinctively glanced over at Michael, unsure whether I should pull him away quietly, even though there was nothing between me and Ulake. To others, I clearly seemed deeply attached to him. A man encountering his boyfriend's betrayal on the street. This kind of mortifying situation was something I couldn't handle at all. It was too embarrassing. I quickly grabbed Michael's sleeve, trying to pull him away from the scene as fast as possible. Just then, I saw Alake suddenly freeze and stop in his tracks. Clearly, he had noticed me after all. The girl with the pink hair stopped too, looking at Alake in confusion. Michael also sensed the shift in mood and looked at me oddly, as if puzzled by what was happening.
Go ahead and get on.
Alake said with a forced smile. He shot me a nervous glance before saying to the girl,
I ran into an old friend. I need to talk for a moment.
All right. Hurry up and join us.
She called out. After the girl walked away, Alake took a deep breath and approached me.
Don't overthink it, we're just friends.
My expression didn't change at all. But inside I was already wishing I could book a ticket to escape Earth on a spaceship. Meanwhile, Michael raised an eyebrow in surprise, wearing what looked like a smug expression. Michael's reaction confused me completely. I rolled my eyes and said to Alake, word by word, we've already broken up. I don't care about your affairs. Alake looked stunned.
I thought you were.
Waiting for you to make it up. Right. I couldn't hold back anymore and shouted at Alake. Can you just act your age and part ways with dignity? Stop bothering me, I'm already stressed out every single day. I've already broken up with you, done, finished. After shouting it out, I felt a lot lighter inside. As soon as I said that, I grabbed Michael and started to leave. Seeing this, Alake quickly took 2 steps forward and grabbed my wrist.
Honey,
Hearing that nickname, Michael's expression was priceless. His face turned dark and sour, like he'd swallowed something terrible. Alake glared at Michael.
what are you doing out with him this late?
It's none of your business, I said coldly, pulling my hand back.
I had to take care of a work matter.
Alake clenched his teeth. And what about you? You're out with your boss at this hour too. Aren't you? I was so furious I nearly laughed out loud. At least I didn't go that far with him like you did.
Shameless. What are you even talking about?
I was determined to make Alake suffer. So I spilled everything. Don't think I don't know all your secrets. Alake looked uneasy after being exposed. What do you mean? What about me? I'm telling you. Not only am I ending things with you, but I'm also demanding every penny I spent on you back. After all this time relying on me, how dare you expect me to keep playing the submissive role? Let's go. After saying that, I pulled Michael away. Fueled by anger, Michael was dragged a long way before finally stopping. Once I came back to my senses, I quickly let go of Michael's hand. I had been so angry earlier that I missed some important details. I turned around without noticing Michael's hurt expression. After a long pause, Michael's voice finally came from behind.
Did you really spend all your money on that guy?
I let out a sigh and reluctantly muttered.
Yeah,
Michael's voice took on a hint of urgency.
Why are you so obsessed with romance?
As the suddenly close-up handsome face loomed before me, I couldn't help but sigh again at my own miserable fate. Master, I said, I just don't have a choice. Michael lowered his head.
It's okay. You don't need to say anything more. How about grabbing a drink? Just treat it as celebrating breaking free from the bad relationship and starting a new chapter.
I gave the lead male a frustrated look. Your character should be detached and indifferent to everything. Right. Since I came into this book to work as your assistant, Michael's personality has never matched the original setup. He's acting like a complete playboy now. It was around 11 or 12 at night, prime time for bars. The booths were packed, so Michael and I had to settle for seats by the bar counter.
What would you like to drink?
Michael asked proactively. Anything's fine. I replied casually. In the end, Michael ordered 2 cocktails.
I'll drink as much as you want. I'm here for you. Tonight, we're not leaving until we're completely done.
After finishing 1 round of drinks, my head felt dizzy as I stared at Michael. Still thinking about work. No way I have to meet Mr. Jack tomorrow. Michael waved his hand and said,
Can't I just give you a day off?
I finally took hold of the newly opened bottle with satisfaction. Cheers. I set down the bottle and pulled out a pack of cigarettes from my pocket. Michael quickly took one, lit it up, then handed the lighter back to me.
Do you even realize what you?
He stopped mid-sentence. He often left things unsaid, and I'd long grown used to his way of speaking.
Nothing.
Michael leaned back on the other stool, turning his face slightly as he exhaled a cloud of smoke. The bar lights were a bit brighter than those in the booth area. They fell on his face like a soft glow, giving him an indistinct and melancholy air. Without his usual playful attitude, it made me feel oddly flustered for a moment. At that moment, the bartender pushed 2 cocktails toward us. I pretended to focus as I raised the glass and drained it in one go, then pushed it back and said, "One more, please."
Take it easy.
Michael murmured after sipping. He looked at me with a quiet expression and asked,
Is that really all you're upset about?
I said nothing, lowering my eyes to stare at the table. I remained silent, letting myself drift back into memory once again. After college, I became a regular office worker and worked hard to save enough money. After being accidentally thrown into the book, I had to start over from scratch, dealing not only with my predecessor's troublesome ex-boyfriend, but also handling various tasks for my boss every day. The thought of how long this might go on filled me with a suffocating feeling. Could I have a pen and some paper? Please, thank you. Michael watched me with clear interest. I grabbed the pen and quickly wrote the words. Resignation letter. On the paper, I slapped it down in front of Michael with a sharp sound. I'm resigning. Michael's expression shifted repeatedly. After a long pause, he finally said through gritted teeth,
Why?
I had had a few drinks and, emboldened by the alcohol, let my guard down. You've dumped all the work on me. And that's fine. I also have to be available around the clock. Ready at any moment. I don't want this kind of hardship money anymore. Michael suddenly stood up and gripped my wrist.
I won't agree to this. I can reduce your workload. I can give you a raise. But quitting isn't an option. You are not allowed to quit without my permission.
In his emotional state, Michael even pulled me into a tight embrace. Realizing I was tightly held, I spoke up with confusion, struggling to pull away. I said, "You're still lying in bed."
You'd better stay right where you are dead in the bed.
Before I could say another word, Michael narrowed his eyes and leaned down to look at me. Speaking in a low tone,
You said you liked money. Didn't you? I'll give you money. Just be mine.
I didn't let him finish. I pushed him hard with all my strength. Michael stumbled backward, his back hitting the edge of the bar. If it weren't for Alake, would I even be broke? Dizzy and disoriented, I slumped back into my seat, lying face down on the table. After stepping closer, Michael finally caught what I was muttering. If he hadn't spent all the money from the original owner's salary card, I wouldn't be in this situation. Michael was completely confused, unable to make sense of the relationships involved. But one thing he was certain about was Leo, his assistant, who not only had strong feelings for that careless man, but also handed over the salary card. At that thought, Michael seemed to picture their past moments of closeness and warmth. Then, with a dark expression, he lifted me onto his shoulder and strode out of the bar under everyone's watchful eyes. Stepping outside the bar, the cool breeze blew through my mind, clearing most of the dizziness. Realizing my situation, I struggled on Michael's shoulder. Michael put me down. Michael did as I asked and bent down to set me on the ground. But his hand didn't let go immediately. He kept it loosely supporting me. Too confident in myself, the steps ahead began to blur. I took one step and missed my footing entirely. I lost balance and fell forward. Michael quickly reached out and caught my waist from behind. I used the support to steady myself, my back bumping directly into Michael's chest. Seeing that, I gave up struggling and let it be. Since both of us were quite drunk and couldn't drive, Michael hailed a cab by the roadside and took me home first. In the hallway, the motion sensor light flickered on intermittently with Michael's murmured words.
I'll give you a raise. And I'll pretend none of tonight's events happened. I'll give you a week off. You can come back to work after that.
Clatter, clatter. As the key turned, the door lock clicked open. I leaned against the doorway, admiring Michael's flawless, handsome face. Is that all? I asked in a low voice. Michael stared at me, lost in thought.
No, I'm going to close the door now.
He hesitated for a moment, then instinctively reached out and blocked the doorway. Gently he asked,
Can I stay at your place tonight?
The hint was unmistakable. Even though I wasn't fully clear-headed, I clearly understood what Michael meant by that question. Michael wanted to spend the night with me. I felt the gaze on me growing hotter, my eyes darting around before settling on Michael's waist. A single thought immediately came to mind. Slim waist like a young male dog. Sure, why not? I squinted slightly, smiling as I made space for him to pass. Michael followed me into the room. As soon as the door closed, Michael quickly reached out to wrap his arm around my neck, pressed against the wall and kissed deeply. I trembled with emotion. So this is what kissing feels like. That intense. Michael's kiss was fiercely passionate, as if he wanted to swallow me whole. The air in my lungs grew thinner with each breath. I let out a low moan and kept trying to push Michael away. I didn't know what triggered him, but I instantly noticed his body's reaction. As our clothes came off one by one, I ended up being pulled onto the bed without a choice. He kept seeking closeness again and again. The whole night passed without pause. When I woke up the next morning, the hangover mixed with a full night of intense activity left me with a pounding headache. I held my head for a while, and bits of scattered memory slowly came back to me. I stiffly turned my head and saw an arm tightly wrapped around my waist. Then I glanced to the side, where I found Michael fast asleep beside me. My last memory was Michael pressing down on me, and I had no idea how it ended. The throbbing ache across my body constantly reminded me of what happened last night. My movement was too sudden, waking up Michael behind me. Michael quickly pulled me back under the blanket, pressing us tightly together once more. I stayed stiff as he held me close, murmuring into my neck.
Don't make a sound. 5 more minutes.
I'm not sleeping with you. Just hearing those words lit a fire inside me right away. I took a deep breath and pushed the person on top of me off. At the same time, a wave of soreness spread through my entire body. I muttered under my breath as I walked into the bathroom. In the mirror, the man staring back had marks all over his chest, especially, was covered in dark, clustered imprints. I forced myself to walk to the bed, pushing the blanket aside with a firm tug. Michael blinked dazedly as he sat up, and his tense expression softened when he saw it was me.
What's wrong? 5 minutes so fast, then I'll just sleep 5 more.
I took a deep breath. Maybe it was the resignation letter I'd written in frustration last night that gave me courage. You just know how to sleep. Is sleeping all there is in your life? Michael reached out with both arms, pulling me into his embrace and rolling me over on the bed. I gripped his arms tightly, heart racing. A taunting voice came from behind.
Oh, really?
Then he leaned down again. I was determined to get Michael out of the house first thing in the morning. Just as I was dozing off against Michael's chest, it hit me his identity as the novel's main character. He was meant to have his own destined love interest in the future. And by changing the story's path, I had no idea how many complications might come from it. In some stories, when the main character's romance hits a wall, entire worlds have stopped turning. No one said that couldn't happen here. The thought sent cold sweat down my spine, and I widened my eyes in alarm, not even bothering to tie my robe. I pulled Michael off the bed, seeing how truly urgent I was. Michael actually went along with it. After dressing, I pushed him toward the door to get him out. I knew it wouldn't actually work, but I needed something to ease my mind.
What are you doing? Shouldn't we have a little morning moment after this? It's the usual routine. Isn't it?
Not even close. I pushed Michael forward just as we reached the hallway, and the door burst open from outside. The sudden turn caught me off guard, and my mind went blank. With Michael's tall frame blocking the view, I couldn't see much. A quick glimpse revealed Alake standing at the doorway, face tense with anger. The door slammed shut with a loud bang. Michael turned to me with a smug look and said,
Honey, it seems we're just in time.
The situation was incredibly awkward, especially after last night's late-night moments with Michael. Even though I had dressed properly, there were still visible marks that couldn't be hidden. I was speechless, while Alake looked like he'd caught someone in the act and tried to pull me away. Michael blocked him.
Leo, you've been involved with him all along. Haven't you? I rushed home first thing this morning. I even wanted to comfort you. This is how you treat me.
I said with a frustrated expression. First of all, we're already broken up. It's my choice who I spend time with. Second, I'd appreciate it if you could move out quickly. Don't make my partner feel uncomfortable. Just then, the so-called boyfriend stood up excitedly and pulled me into his arms.
Could it be you can't afford to find a new place?
Alake was deeply upset and grabbed his bags, storming out the door.
Leo, I'll be waiting for you to come back and ask me to stay.
As soon as he left, Michael rushed over and pressed himself against me on the sofa.
I'll take responsibility for you.
I let out a sarcastic laugh, as if I'd heard something ridiculous. Michael's expression changed instantly. He pushed himself up and stared at me with seriousness.
What do you mean?
I pushed him away and tightened the robe's belt. Mr. Chin, I'll submit my resignation. Thinking about Michael's role as the novel's main character, my heart finally hardened. You'll meet your true love someday in the future. Last night was just a moment of strong emotion. We were both swept up by it. Michael stood up angrily.
Forget about that excuse. Leo, don't try to make excuses for yourself. I thought you might feel the same way too. Why else would you let me stay over at your place?
I looked at him coldly. We're both adults, some things don't need to be explained. Last night, I just needed someone to help me release some tension. A kind of outlet. It just happened to be you. Michael's eyes were red, as if tears were about to fall any second. If Michael had stayed even 1 second longer, I might have been tempted to comfort him myself. Just as I expected, I submitted my resignation on the computer. As predicted, it was rejected. Emma from HR even called me directly.
Leo, mister. John said salary matters can be discussed.
I caught the key phrase and asked with confusion. Mr. John. Could it be that his father already knew about me and Michael? The thought alone nearly made me dizzy. I held back my frustration. Emma, there's no need to keep persuading me. My relationship with Michael is no longer suitable for working together. On the 3rd day of rest, my resignation request still hadn't been approved. When I went downstairs to buy cigarettes at the supermarket, I ran into Assistant Henry. He was following Mr. John, so I had no choice but to approach him with resolve. In the private room, Mr. John sat silently across from me. My hand trembled slightly as I lit a cigarette. I kept my head down and pretended not to notice.
I assigned you to work with Michael. Not so that you would.
I kept my head down, shrinking inward like a frightened bird. Mr. John, this was an unexpected situation. I swear I won't be in Michael's presence ever again. I racked my mind, trying every possible way.
Father,
The private room door swung open, and I instinctively turned around. It was Michael. After 3 days apart, he still looked as confident and polished as ever. I looked at my loose shorts on my legs and couldn't help but laugh at myself, clearly. Michael and I came from completely different worlds. Michael quickly walked over to Mr. John as if deliberately ignoring me.
all right. You can go back now.
He said, unable to stop glancing my way. Seeing this, Mr. John sharply tapped Michael on the back of his head and said angrily,
You're such a disappointment, clearly. They don't even think about you. Are you still chasing after him? Haven't you caused enough embarrassment these past few days?
Michael looked away, stubbornly saying,
I don't really care about him at all. Who says I like him? It's just that.
Mr. John looked at his disappointing son and spoke coldly.
What is it? Still not admitting it. Who was the one who came home crying 3 days ago? Throwing a fit and refusing to eat? And who was it clinging to your mother? Sobbing and asking why over and over again?
Michael turned bright red.
Dad, you're impossible.
At this point, I started to sense something was off. Most parents wouldn't react like this if their son were into someone of the same gender. Would they? Before I could figure it out, Mr. John dropped another shocking revelation.
Spent a whole year secretly admiring someone, only to be turned down before even confessing. How could I have such a useless son?
I froze, unable to believe what I'd just heard. Mr. John gave me a knowing look.
Frankly, you deserve to spend your life alone. Frankly, you deserve to spend your life alone Samuel from next door has already brought his partner home. And here you are, embarrassing me.
Samuel, the main character's name in the original story. I was growing more confused, and finally couldn't help but raise my hand to ask. Mr. John. I was wondering, is this Samuel the one who grew up with Michael since childhood? Is there really no one else with the same name? Michael's expression darkened as he stepped toward me.
Do you know him? Do you like him? Is that why you're trying to get close to me? Don't even think about it, he already has someone.
At that moment, Mr. John's expression turned truly grim.
Shut up, fool.
I looked steadily at Michael, my mind racing. Michael, I think there's been a misunderstanding between us. No, actually, it's me who misunderstood you. Glancing at Mr. John behind me and mindful of his presence, I hesitated for a long moment before finally saying, "Can we talk outside, please?" Michael said nothing, but let himself be gently pulled away from the private room. Mr. John, thank you for your thoughtful intentions.
Young man, don't assume I'm some old-fashioned stick in the mud.
Watching his rebellious son happily following Leo out, John pressed a hand to his temple and exhaled deeply. Assistant Henry entered the room and couldn't stop giving his boss a big thumbs up.
Mr. John, you're incredible actually securing your son's rightful place yourself.
John leaned back in his chair, sighing deeply at the thought of his utterly foolish son. Assistant Henry had been by John's side for decades, so he wasn't afraid to speak freely.
Thanks to you. Everything turned out fine.
I just didn't expect those guards to be so ineffective, letting the young master slip through their hands like that.
John nodded in agreement.
We were almost ruined by that young man. Always insisting on saving face, only to suffer the consequences. If I hadn't acted fast, tonight it would been him crying instead.
Michael was dragged into the car by me. The moment he sat down, a soft
Ding.
echoed in his mind. A mechanical voice then rang out.
Hello, host. I'm bookverse system. Loading storyline. Storyline loading complete.
I was still puzzled when I heard the mechanical voice exclaim excitedly.
You're the most talented user I've ever come across. Your progress on the main character's brother has already reached 90%.
I asked hesitantly, "What do you mean? 90%? Michael beside me jumped in surprise.
Progress on the male lead's brother. Michael.
My mind was a whirlwind, and I took the chance to ask my question. Michael is the main male lead, but the other main character hasn't appeared. He never fell for him. Before I could finish asking, I heard the system's voice, full of apology.
Sorry, host. During the transfer, energy fluctuations caused me to lose contact with you. The novel that granted you entry into this world was incorrect. It was just a fan-written story.
I was shocked once again.
What did you say?
Michael cried as he hugged me.
I didn't say anything, don't scare me like that.
The system continued.
The main male lead is Samuel. Michael is just his close friend and not officially paired with him. To give a supporting character a hopeful future, we've brought you to be by Michael's side. In that case, I won't interfere with the two of you any longer. Bye-bye.
The system quickly disconnected, leaving me no chance to scold it. I gently pulled away from Michael's embrace, meeting his eyes full of concern. I almost wanted to hold him close and comfort him right then and there. You rotten system. Do you even know how many times I've suppressed little sparks of affection for Michael? All because of one forced pairing fanfiction. I pulled Michael close, my arms wrapping around his waist.
Sweetheart.
Michael spoke hesitantly. Seeing that I didn't object, he called out more boldly.
Hey, you like me. Don't you? That night in bed. Your reaction didn't fool me. You really like me.
I gave a soft "Mahem." In reply, the big dog snuggled against me, and I let him enjoy himself, savoring the long overdue warmth. Michael kept kissing my lips softly.
So why is it?
Thinking back on those painful memories, I reached out and covered his mouth. As expected, Michael's eyes filled with a hurt expression I couldn't bear to see. I sighed deeply, but still couldn't bring myself to explain something so unbelievable. Just the fact that I'm from another world is already enough to make people question me. I leaned in and shared a gentle kiss with Michael. I promise I won't do it again. Can we just be together properly from now on?
What about getting married abroad? Would that be okay?
I smiled and agreed. Michael was surprisingly easy to comfort, climbing out of my arms right away to make a phone call.
Hey, Dad. I'm getting married. Now you don't have to worry about falling behind Samuel's dad. I and my wife are going abroad next month to officially register our marriage.
Hey guys, I have so many thoughts to share. First of all, can we talk about how infuriating Luca was? This man drained Leo's entire bank account, cheated on him with a pink-haired girl right in the street, and still had the nerve to call him baby the next morning while trying to drag him back. I was literally yelling, "Get out," at my screen. Walking red flag energy at its finest, but what actually broke me was Leo's journey. This guy was so exhausted, working 24/7 as Michael's overworked assistant, covering for his boss, dealing with endless overtime, and still getting emotionally destroyed by his toxic ex. The moment he got drunk, slammed that resignation letter on the table and shouted, "I quit this bullshit life." I felt that so hard. That was such a raw "I'm choosing myself" moment. Then there's Michael, the so-called co-CEO who loves sleeping in. Watching him go from distant boss to this soft, jealous, secretly in love golden retriever was everything. The scene where he cried to his dad after being rejected, emotional damage. And that system plot twist revealing it was all a fanfic, my jaw was on the floor. This story did something special. It let the side character stop being background support and finally take control of his own happiness. So tell me in the comments, if you were Leo, would you have given Michael a chance after everything that happened, or would you still walk away? And be honest, would you have demanded your money back from Luca like he did? If you love watching me rant about messy relationships, character growth, and surprise twists, hit subscribe and turn on notifications. There's so much more book chaos coming. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.